Cities are attracting more residents, business, and investment than ever before. And at the same time, the people who paid their dues in cities during their long decline, people of color, low-income people, aren't reaping the benefits of this renewed investment.
Despite entrepreneurship being on the front cover of every magazine and on TV, entrepreneurship as an activity has been on decline in the U.S. since really the early 1980s. And so we're looking for levers that we can use to increase that work. One of those is the development and fortification of entrepreneurial ecosystems, the systems that support entrepreneurs in communities. It shouldn't matter where you're from or who you are, what your background is, that you should have access to the opportunity to become an entrepreneur and to really forge and build the life that you want.
Cities are economic engines that drive innovation and productivity. When more people come into closer contact with one another, it produces more sustainable living patterns. It also encourages social interaction and facilitates the public dialogue that creates a more inclusive culture. This video is focused on economic development, entrepreneurship, and more importantly, equity.
Equity is one of the biggest issues I think our cities are facing. The more we can make a neighborhood or a city look like nature, if we think about it, nature is successful because of its diversity and resilience.
We know that if more people of color and marginalized groups own businesses and operate businesses, they tend to hire people from also marginalized backgrounds. So we see entrepreneurship as not only a way to empower individuals, but also as a way to create jobs for some of the most disenfranchised people.
We could start thinking in these new kind of ways of how cultures live together so we can unwind the problems that they were put around intentionally.
As we work with a community or a project, we try to take a deep dive, a deep analysis of the ecosystem of a place. And by ecosystem, I mean all the human factors as well as the environment.
What are the barriers that are keeping certain audiences from accessing entrepreneurship? If minorities started businesses at the same rate as their white counterparts in the United States, we would instantly add 1 million new companies and 10 million new jobs. If women started businesses at the same rate of men, we'd instantly add 1 million new jobs. So there's an economic opportunity for us to do more to open up opportunities for women and minorities, people in rural communities, and immigrants, other folks who are facing these systematic barriers to entrepreneurship. It is not just good for those entrepreneurs, but it is good for our economy and for our country and for the globe.
A country, a city, our communities do better when equity is at the center of an economic growth model. Otherwise, if people are not making enough money to support themselves or their families, this means that we need increased level of services. This means that people aren't able to buy goods, and the economy is not as strong as it could be. So having a new growth model that centers equity actually is better for the bottom line.
An ecosystem that supports entrepreneurs is a natural living system, but we've spent way too long looking at just one component of a city. So we say, we're gonna solve poverty, so we're just gonna look at jobs. We're gonna solve entrepreneurship, so we're just gonna look at how do we get more angel investors. But the reality is it's a complex system where everything from transportation to housing to electricity to education, it's all related. And if you can connect that together in the right way and create a culture that says you can create here, you're gonna unlock more entrepreneurs.
With our developments, the more we can increase connectivity and diversity and have it look a lot more like nature, the more likely that neighborhood, that city, that region will be resilient, will be successful, will be on a positive track financially. I can see that already. That's easier said than done.
The dynamism of our communities facilitates the upward mobility necessary to define a new economic model. As human-built systems, cities are shaped by the political process. Leveraging a community's dormant potentials empowers grassroots decision-making that can catalyze a virtuous cycle of job creation and equitable economic development.